The story takes place in the summer of 1998. My wife and I had been divorced for 5 years and my son was living with me. We all know that single parenting is not easy, but I gave my child the best. I remember it was a weekend and the weather was perfect that day. My neighbor and I would often go out together. She was in a similar situation as I was, also alone with her children. This has been the case for the past 6 months. Although we have a mutual affection for each other, our failed marriage makes us treat our relationship with more caution. We often organize bike rides or hiking trips. That weekend it was very hot and I suggested we go rafting. We were all very happy. We simply packed our bags. An hour later, we arrived at our destination. There were 5 of us and we rented 2 boats. Along the ramp we entered the river and started our adventure. Boating is a very pleasant thing to do in the summer heat. We soon came to the main river. I put my feet in the water, which made me feel cooler. When we came to the first bend, the current became fast. We controlled our direction and speed and made it through the bend without any problems. We continued on through the river and that was it for over an hour. Next we hit an even worse bend and the boat hit a rock underwater. I fell into the water, the current became more and more turbulent, I couldn't control my body and the boat got further and further away from me. I came to deep water in the back. I was not in a very good state of mind because I had worked late both days before. The undercurrent began to engulf me. I struggled to get a breath of air. But I couldn't reach the surface and couldn't reach the rocks around me. It was at this point that I realized that I was about to drown. With my exhausted body I made a last-ditch effort to get to the surface. However, all my efforts were to no avail. I was left alone in the darkness, and slowly the surroundings became calm. Without the previous panic, there was only one thought. Give up the struggle and accept the fact. I felt it was a relief. To make a living, I worked 2 jobs. The money earned can only maintain the normal expenses of the family. I am a strong man, I do not want to show my vulnerable side in front of others. But only I knew how hard my life was going to be. Suddenly I felt someone grab my clothes. Lifting me over my head, I left the water. I could feel the warmth of the sun and the soft breeze was comforting. When I woke up, I saw a very big tree. The breeze blew through the leaves as if the leaves were my fingers and I felt like I was part of the tree. All my senses were heightened, the colors brighter, the vision clearer and more defined. A bird began to sing in front of me and I could not only see and hear it, but I could also feel its joy. So much was happening around me. I don't have to turn around to see it, because I can see everything around me at the same time. I could also see what was happening down there at the same time. My son had just climbed out of the water, and I could see myself, who was no longer breathing. This doesn't seem to be too much of a problem for me, I've said goodbye to my old life. There were no feelings of pain or sadness here, only love and happiness. When I looked at my son again, he was seeking help from others. I felt like I was entering his body. I could see through his eyes, hear sounds through his ears, and feel the emotions he was feeling. And I was just a bystander. My son was wearing a life jacket, so he was not in danger, and the neighbor's children were safe. Now I had to go save my father. These were his thoughts at the time. Then, I was back in my own world. Standing on the surface of the water. I heard a voice come from, "What do you want to do next?" I understood that I needed to make a choice. Choose a new way of life or go back to the way things were. I knew God was with me because I could feel His love. It was like the satisfaction of a child in its mother's arms. This feeling of love and happiness was so strong that I was torn as to what to do. No one forced me to choose this or that. And no one guided me. The matter was entirely up to me. I knew my son really needed me and knew how much I loved him. I reluctantly chose to come back and raise him the best I could. When I chose to enter my body again, I felt power in my body. Nothing could stop me from reaching the surface. Once I got there, I spit out the silt in my mouth and took a deep breath. My lungs hurt so badly that it felt worse than drowning. That's when the voice reminded me again, "Call out for help." Then I passed out. When I woke up again, I was admitted to the hospital. Over the next few days, the pain slowly subsided and I thanked God for giving me my life back and giving me the opportunity to be there for my son. I also shuddered to think of his life without his mother. I am grateful to have made the choice to do so. God is real, He loves each and every one of us, and cares about the tiniest things on earth. After going through this, I was brave enough to confess my love to my neighbor. I didn't want to leave any more regrets. Regardless of the outcome, I think the process is the most important thing, just like our lives.